Welcome, everyone. I'm so excited to tell you about this podcast. It's called The DK Project, but it's really The Darren Show. The DK Project is a radio show, but without the radio. So sit back, buckle up, and enjoy the ride.
Let's go!
Welcome back to the DK Project. Special guest zooming in today. We've got Ducky from the Land Before Time. It's Aria Curzon. How are you?
I am so glad to be here. Hi, I'm doing great. It's a beautiful day. How are you?
Is this what you're known for? Is Ducky? That is you.
Oh yes. Yep. That is me.
So obviously, for my listeners who aren't familiar, Aria is a voice actress who does cartoons on cartoons on cartoons. I suppose you do commercials too. You're not going to turn business away. I mean, really?
Oh, heck no.
So
commercials, film.
But this has kind of been your bread and butter, is this Land Before Time, right?
Yes, I got the job when I was 8 years old, and we did the last movie when I was about 26. So they kept me working.
Man, that is impressive. I love the character world. And as my listeners have heard, I've done a lot of voiceover training and voiceover retreats and voiceover yada, yada, yada. But I met Debbie Derryberry at one of the retreats in Ireland. And just to see her go is absolutely blew me away. To see a true professional character actor do their thing, it's baffling, especially when it's you've got kind of a higher pitched voice to begin with. But then when like if you can speak that way, it's just fascinating to me. Some people are probably like, big deal, but it's not as easy as they think. Because a lot of people think you just do that voice and then, all of a sudden you're Ducky, but you have to react in that voice. You have to laugh with that voice. You have to, create an act with that voice. And that is not easy to do.
Yeah. A lot of screaming and falling and grunting and that's true. When I was 8 years old, I will say it was just about pretty much my voice. But I grew up and I had to, while other characters aged out, especially the boy character, Littlefoot, I had to kind of keep working at maintaining the role as long as I did. And then eventually they stopped questioning it because I was not going to give up that part. And people like Debbie, I've worked with her. She's they're incredible. They were so inspirational for me as a kid because I was just myself. But seeing them and how versatile they were, it's definitely inspiring.
Oh, for sure. And did you say you've met her?
Yeah, I've met her. I've worked with her. A lot of voiceover people I've worked with, but I only kind of realize it later on because I look at the cast list and I'm like, oh, I didn't even know they were in this.
Yeah, it's funny because she's all of 4'2", but just a pistol. I was blown because I'm 6'2" unless I got my big shoes on. But just to stand here, I look like a giant, which was really pretty interesting. But and I'm. I do a lot of explainers and commercials and narration. I'm trying to get towards the character world, but it's a whole thing onto itself, and it's impressive. But the world is moving that way. I mean, everything is now animation or CGI. I mean, the real actor world is probably it's probably not 50-50, but it's probably getting pretty close. All the superhero stuff and cartoons, it's amazing.
Especially now. Everything's kind of going virtual on some level or another. And there's always going to be voiceover work to do. Even if you're an on-camera actor, you got to go in sometimes and fix a line or, do some of that back end stuff. So, or do promo for your own film.
There you go. What are you working on currently?
Well, currently I'm trying to get into like audiobooks just because it's something I've never done before. And I have some friends who have author friends and they're like, hey, I have a friend, why don't you let her do your book? So I'm working towards that, but I'm also getting more into the music realm of things since my fiance is a violinist. He's excellent, like world class, and I sing. Nice. So I'm kind of doing some stuff together and just exploring what that can be.
How fun is that? I I like the music side of it. That's kind of foreign to me completely, you know, especially it looks like you're the people who are only listening to the audio, your set there is pretty strong. It looks like a drum kit and you got all the goodies in there, huh?
Exactly. Yeah, I got his drums and well, all my little toys and things. And then I have a keyboard over here, but downstairs is where the real magic happens, I'll say. That's,
nice.
Where all the bass and the guitars and the violins and the everything else.
And he can play all of those?
Yes, he can play so many things. It's ridiculous. He's a master violinist, but he's really good at the rest of it too. His brain just works like that, I guess. Comes from a musical family.
Man, that's cool. A master violinist. That's a talent. I some of the stuff that's out there. You always forget about the violinists or the, but that. Oh man, what a talent. Now before we got on the air here, we were talking about your little award there to your right, my left. And
yes.
You were telling me that this is a voice award you got here.
It is, and this is a Cleo Award, and which is a kind of like the Emmys for radio and television advertising. And I won this for my performance. I don't even know if the commercial itself won an award for like copyright or any of that stuff, but yeah. I won. When I was 10 years old in 1997, Silver Cleo for the United Way of Arizona PSA called I'm Nobody, which I still remember word for word to this day. It was like a poem.
Ooh, so it had an effect on you. That's good.
It did. And I sounded very little, like I could do some of it for you right now if you want to hear it. It's very like emotional.
No, I don't want to hear it. This is a comedy podcast. I'm going to trust you that it's very touching, but yeah, I don't know. But you know what? We can add it in at the end.
It's about like being a homeless kid. It's like sad. Yeah.
Oh God, no, that's a rain on the parade. And you can't see it in my studio. And by the way you were reading the label on that award, it makes me think that you've been nominated and received a lot of awards. Where my shelf, on the other hand, you can't see it, but it has a lot of open space for awards. We've only just begun. Have you won others?
Well, nothing as big as this one. I did win a few. There was an yearly award show called the Young Artist Awards of Hollywood. And it was specifically geared towards young actors because, as you know, a lot of the regular award shows are for adults. Even though young people have won them, it's rare.
Right.
So I have a couple of those. One for like my role in Prince of Egypt, which was so small, but that was very nice of them. And another for, I think, Annabelle's Wish, which is another voiceover thing I did. I'd have to go look at them. I forget, but I was like 10 or 12, around there. So
how did you get started now? You started when you were 6, but was it just like, hey, I want to do this. I want to follow my, favorite actress on TV. And now all of a sudden, boom. I mean, because at 6, it's like I've got a 15-year-old and he's wants to be a YouTube star like every other 15-year-old. But how do you actually take that step and at 6, you don't even know what you're doing at 6.
You have no idea what life is at 6 or what even, I know it was a weird contradiction because I saw all of these kids and stuff on shows that I loved. And my role model at the time was Shirley Temple.
Oh,
and
you're not that old.
I know. Well, hey, we had her VHS tapes. I mean, I did grow up in the 90s and she's still iconic. So she's lived on in all of her work. And I was also kind of her type. I had little short curly hair and I had a cute voice. And my parents are both musicians. So they've been in the performing world, not quite acting, but still performing.
Sure.
And my mom just kind of thought, she kept getting people saying, oh, she has such a cute voice. She should do something. And so she kind of did the legwork for me. She went out there and found an agent, got me an interview, which went horribly. I was so shy and I was like up on this stage and they were asking me questions and I kept forgetting like everything, like my name. I didn't know it, but they still thought I was cute enough to take on because I was so little and that's kind of how it goes. And it just went from there. Like it picked up pretty quickly and my mom really helped me get a lot of opportunities. She wasn't like typical stage mom. I enjoyed it the whole time. And I always knew that I didn't have to do it if I didn't want, but I had pretty much nothing but great experiences.
Wow, that's great. And on top of that, you time that little description for the amount of time that this tornado siren's going off in my background.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, oh, yeah. Keep going. Perfect. So, so did you have any coaching or any like training right out of the gate?
I don't remember. Early on, I got my first commercial like 3 or 4 months maybe after I started auditioning. And then that was with a lot of kids I would come to work with later on, like Francesca Smith, who was in Recess, and Miko Hughes, who was in Pet Sematary, and all kinds of other movies later on. And we became friends. So I did that, and then a voiceover commercial shortly after. And I think I did have a couple acting coaches early on. One was named Chambers Stevens, and he was kind of known for being the kids' comedy coach of Hollywood. And he coached me for my auditions and callback for the first movie I ever got, which was called Santa with Muscles with Hulk Hogan.
I wanted to ask you about that. How was it working with the Hulkster?
Oh, it was so fun. And not only him, but he had all of his like beefy, wrestler friends on set all the time. And he would cast some of them as like, stunt guys. And just, so I had a great time. They were all very nice to me, and he was very cool. Like,
was it his movie?
He was very considerate. Huh?
Was it his movie? Like, did he put it together, or was he just an actor?
That's a good question. He might have been on the producer end of things, but he was just mainly the lead. And I don't even know really how all of that worked together in the end, but it was really fun. It was a Christmas movie, so even though it's kind of known for being cheesy and like really campy, it still comes around every year and people watch it.
Well, what a weird thing to blend together, Hulk Hogan and Santa for, Christmas. It's kind of, it's a couple things that maybe aren't real.
Seriously. Well, that was kind of the funny thing is he actually played this billionaire playboy guy named Blake something, but he hit on the head, and there's this con artist guy who convinces him to be that he is Santa because he's trying to like make money through this thing. And so eventually he comes to connect with this orphanage where myself, Adam Wiley, and Mila Kunis, who went on to do everything, were the only unwanted orphans at this orphanage. And yeah.
So do you like that? Do you like the on-screen stuff better?
It depends on my mood. I feel like if I only did voiceover for the rest of my life, I'd be thrilled because it is my comfort zone and I feel really happy just getting to go into a session and go home, and it's very simple.
Right.
But every now and then I'd like to pepper in on camera because
keep you sharp.
It's just a different experience. Yeah.
What, I'm looking at your IMDb here. Were you on Mad About You, the TV show?
I was. I played, I was in the final episode. It was like a future, not a flashback, but a future flash or flash future, whatever those are called, where Ira, their friend, and they were all going to this movie, and Cyndi Lauper was a guest. She played his wife, and she played my mother.
Nice.
Yeah, it was very small, but she was fun. I have a picture with her, and a lot of these people I didn't really know who they were when I was young, but my mom was thrilled,
Right, right. Oh, you were just a little kid then, I suppose.
Well, I was maybe 12 or 13, but I still didn't really know Cyndi Lauper. Like, I knew maybe that about girls just want to have fun, but
yeah. Well, I've heard good things that she's good people, so I imagine it's been that way the whole time. She's been around forever. It's still killing it. Still knocking it down. Which one of these, you've got a huge IMDb. Which one of them is your favorite, you think? Obviously excluding Land Before Time because you've worked on that forever.
Oh yeah. Wow. Let's see. Well, I did another radio show for 10 years, which isn't on my IMDb because it's a radio show. And there's a few things missing on there. I just realized, but it was called Adventures in Odyssey, and I was on it for 10 years as a character called Mandy, which is another thing that people know me as. So to me, that's also close to my heart.
How does that work then? It's just on the radio?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's focused on the family. It's a radio drama, so they have sound effects and stories and music, but it's on people, and I don't even know now what station it's on because I haven't listened to the radio in forever.
Yeah.
The actual radio. But it's been, the show itself has been around for like 30 years. So it's
Is
just
that like a Prairie
things.
Home Companion kind of a thing?
Mm-hmm. But more of like a through line story centralized around this town called Odyssey and all the characters that live in it.
What a fun idea. Wow, you better get that up on your page.
Yeah, I know I should. But other than that, I'm trying to think, like some of my 90s TV things were fun.
Yeah.
I loved like Sabrina the Teenage Witch. That was a fun one for me because I liked the show before I gone on it. So getting to meet those characters was fun.
Is cool. And then you get to meet all the people involved, which is could be good, could be bad, I guess. You know, some of the reality checks there are probably a rude awakening. Hey everybody, it's time to talk about Chong's Choice. You know Tommy Chong from Cheech and Chong fame? Well, he's not just a comedian and actor. He's also an entrepreneur. Introducing Tommy Chong's newest line of cannabis products, Chong's Choice. These products are some of the best cannabis products grown by growers selected by Tommy Chong himself, along with his quality control team. If you're interested, go to TommyChong.com. Use the code TC-079K. And also, add the name DK Project to your order. You can also use the code to order merch, CBD, experience the Nano CBD difference, feel it faster, feel it stronger. Shop Nano CBD, shop merchandise. There's all kinds of good stuff on the TommyChong.com website. What better place to get your cannabis products than from the master himself? TommyChong.com. Just make sure you add the DK Project as your order name, and you're good to go. Special thanks to the good folks at Grady Restoration. If you're in need of some insurance restoration work, not sure if you have any hail damage, storm damage, wind damage, give them a call, 952-472-1570, or look them up on the web at GradyRestoration.com. Time to talk a little tech, something you may not be familiar with, but need to be. Expressvpn. Did you know that sending unencrypted data is like sending a postcard through the mail? Everyone can see it. Expressvpn protects you from hackers who try to steal your private information. Expressvpn also gives you unrestricted access to all parts of the internet. This especially applies to those of us here in Minnesota, where Fox Sports North has decided not to work with anyone, so you can't get your favorite games on your TV. ExpressVPN allows you to reroute your connection to a server in a country of your choice, making geo-restrictions a thing of the past. ExpressVPN is offering my listeners 3 extra months when you sign up for a 12-month package. Go to expressvpn/the DK Project and click on the limited time offer for DK Project listeners. Start watching all the programming you want and unleashing stuff you didn't even know was out there. Netflix in other countries, Spotify in other countries, prices are different. What they're showing is different. Check it out. expressvpn/the DK Project. What'd you do on the Muppets?
Oh, I totally forgot about that. That was another really awesome one because earlier that year I made a vision board kind of thing, which I'd never done. And I put 3 people I wanted to work with, and one of them was Amy Adams. I don't know, I just wrote her down. And like 4 months later, I got an audition for the Muppets. It was a one-line, I was a waitress. And it was a one-line just saying like, are you expecting anyone else or something like that? And I got to the costume fitting, and they told me that I was going to be in the scene with Amy Adams. And I was like, I was like so excited. I've been a huge fan of hers for a long time. So it was.
She's the one that was in Wedding Crashers?
Amy, not Wedding Crashers. She was in Enchanted. She's done so much. She was just in Hillbilly Elegy. She was in that movie about.
Oh, her. Yeah. Yeah, she was. Actually, ironically, she was in there too.
In where?
In Wedding Crashers. Wasn't she the crazy sister?
There's a couple redheads in that. I don't remember her.
I was thinking of Rachel
I
Adams.
loved
Is
Wedding
it Rachel
Crashers.
Adams? Rachel Adams was her name.
Rachel Adams. Yeah, this is Amy Adams. She was also in a favorite movie of mine growing up called, it was based in Minnesota. It was about a small town beauty competition.
Ooh.
Now I can't remember the name.
Really?
That's where like I first saw her. But it was a big song and dance musical number, and I got to be kind of that ended it all. She was like singing and dancing and everything. And then I like interrupted with my line and brought her back to reality. So
did you get to see how it all worked?
How all what worked?
All the Muppet stuff?
You know, that's the funny thing is I didn't actually get to interact with any Muppets. I was a little bummed about that. It was just her in the Mel's Diner in Hollywood. And it was this point in the movie where she was kind of feeling rejected because her boyfriend was going off to do things with the Muppets and she felt all alone. So she was singing about having a me party and just doing what she wanted. And she was at the diner and then they interspliced other scenes from other things that were happening, but there weren't any Muppets in our vicinity.
I got you. Wow. How fun. That is, it's funny because I was just talking to somebody who also was on the Muppets, and it's funny because you can catch, reruns of everything, but it's very hard to find a rerun of the Muppets just because they're just not out there. And I think there's some, legal buying thing going on right now where we're going to be seeing Muppets soon, but I think it's in the process of a major buyout of something. But you just can't find it anywhere. And I think that was, for people, you were probably closer to the end of it because I'm a little bit older than you are. But that was a big deal for us watching the Muppets. Like that was, CGI at the time. I mean, that was as fancy as we got.
Oh, absolutely. That was all the practical stuff. And I mean, it's weird because the Muppets did cross over. I grew up on Sesame Street.
Yep.
And I know those are all Muppets. And there's Kermit, who is a Muppet. He was in Sesame Street. But not all those Muppets are the same as the Muppet Show. Like they're still separate somehow, right?
Did you ever do Sesame Street?
No, I wanted to so bad, but I got to visit the set once because I went to PBS for like an audition or something and just started running around the
wow
the lot.
Is that still on? Like, are they still making new Sesame Streets?
I think they are. Because I remember recently they talked about some slightly controversial topic that they were going to be introducing, and it was a whole thing. Oh, so yeah. I'm pretty sure they still are. Wow,
that's cool. So what's your voiceover sweet spot after you get done with the cartoons? Are you said you were trying to get into the book narration kind of a thing. What's been your favorite part? I mean, obviously cartoons are big, but is there anything else you do a lot of?
Growing up, I did a lot of radio. I did a lot of commercials, radio commercials, and that was fun because it's just something different every time, and it was just. I loved any of it, but I think animation, probably because I do know how to, get that character and the energy up and that read, and I'm good at delivering like a read in 3 different ways and different things like that. But one thing I really want to do is explore more of my range because I already have a unique voice. That's been kind of my bread and butter. I got one role. I had gone to Colorado to do a live 20th anniversary of that radio show I told you about.
Okay.
And I was looking around at we were on stage in front of an audience doing the show. I was looking around at all the adults with me, and I was like, man, you know what? I want to do something different. I want to expand and try something new. And I got back home, and I finally got an audition for a boy voice, which, as you know, a lot of women do little boy voices.
Yep.
I didn't think I was going to be any good at it, but I was like, I'm going to do this, and I got it.
Really?
It was this little bully, and all he sounded was like, so what are you going to do about it, punk? And I didn't think it sounded like a boy. I don't really think women sound like boys, but I know for the purposes of animation, it works. And I got the job, and I was like, wow, okay, wow, that's cool. I can do this.
That's cool, because there's so much competition in that area that, and then especially if you can cross over like that and pick up something, that's cool. Someday, I don't know that I'll ever be able to do a little boy voice or anyone young for that matter. But I'd love to get into it. It's such a fun world to explore. But that in video games. Have you ever done any video games?
I wanted to. I only did one for it was in relation to a show that I was doing. So
okay.
I think they kind of used some of the lines for the video game.
Okay.
I did one that actually was directed by Gordon Hunt. It was about I don't even know if that's on my IMDb, but I played Spool. I played a spool, like a little spool of thread.
Nice.
Anthropomorphized character. But I think that was a video game. But yeah, that's the fun thing about voiceover. Like, if anybody's interested in it, you never know what part of your voice, like, just start experimenting with the breathiness or the volume or the tone. Or, there's like so many different ways you can try things, and you never know what's going to come out and be something fun to play with.
How is the industry changed? I mean, I'm not trying to divulge your age, but there's a gap between 6 and where you are now. How has it evolved? I mean, I've got my equipment that obviously I try to stay up on the latest, greatest, stay ahead of the game. But even like, not even going into studios or directed sessions or anything. I mean, when you're 6, it's got to be a whole new world now, because you can actually go to your studio that you have in your basement and pop one out, where before at 6, you got to go in front of people, have them eyeball you and put a little pressure on you. How has it changed, and what do you like most about where we are now? And is there anything you'd like to say that you missed from before?
Absolutely. I can see both sides of it. I like the accessibility. Obviously, it's nice to not even have to drive across town and leave your house. And I know a lot of people who do more work and all kinds of stuff from their homes. And as you do, as I do sometimes, but I miss that human aspect, because when I was little, I was auditioning in person, and that was a lot of gas, a lot of time. But I would go from audition to audition, several a day usually. And I feel like because I took direction well, it really upped my chances, because they would help me through my audition and give me a little tweak here and there, and it would bring out the best. And then all of a sudden, when things started to change to do auditions from home or even from my agency, I felt like I didn't have that kind of feedback that I really relied on to bring out the best in my performance. So you have to be very self-aware now of what they're looking for, and what sounds commercially appealing, how to work best with the mic. You have to know your stuff on a different level now, I think.
I would totally agree with that. Do you find that, and you kind of alluded to it there, but like a lot of times you'll throw an audition out there and you don't hear anything. You get nothing. Where if you're in front of a group of people, they're going to give you feedback right away and say, hey, maybe you can tweak this way, or maybe try it this way. Where now you don't get that. You just, shoot it out there and yada, yada, yada. There's so many people competing that they'll find it eventually.
Exactly. And sometimes they only listen to your track for 3 seconds before deciding to move on, because they have hundreds of people to get to.
Right.
And that gave me a lot of anxiety at first, because I would sit there and listen back and, I don't like that one line. So I would do the whole thing over again, and then I'd do it again and again. And then I get frustrated and delete everything. And it was just like, I got too perfectionistic. I'm like, I don't need to be the engineer. This is not good for my psyche.
Right.
And then I find I did all that work, and it's much easier to just go in, do it once or twice, and be given a few notes, and then move on.
I totally agree.
But you get faster at it with time.
How long would it take, like, for a Land Before Time, for a movie? How long does that take? Because I know in a traditional acting setup, there's probably a lot more time involved, setting up this, setting up that. How long does it take you to do a show or a movie? From your, if you're playing a pretty strong role in it, what kind of time does that take?
It's interesting, because I just talked with some of the crew, I would say, team of Land Before Time, the producer and the songwriters. And I found out that the producer works on one Land Before Time for like up to 18 months.
Wow.
But we get brought in, the voice actors, for only 1 or 2 days, usually, even if we're a main character, which I was. The recording sessions, maybe 3 days, but before we were all together pretty much in the same booth, lined up, and we get to interact. But nowadays, they seem to bring you in 1 or maybe 2 at a time, and you have to act off of nothing. which is it's different, but it kind of also makes the process go by a lot faster because there's a lot less joking around. And
oh, I bet. And I got to imagine that. Did they just have you come in and these are all your speaking parts? Just bang them out like. And that's got to be extra difficult because you've got no one to bounce it off of, no one to like interact with.
Yeah, basically, we used to for the first handful. We would actually get together at Universal Studios, the lot, and do a read through. So that was always a fun little reunion. And then shortly after, we'd record, and that was early on in the process because they have to animate to our performances. So all of the rest of the bulk of the work was the animation and stuff. And yeah, we would get our scenes, and the director, if it was just us, the director would be like, okay, and Littlefoot is just, and he's reaching for the tree star, and you have to go, watch out, Littlefoot, so she'll give you something, and you go, and then you respond to that, but it's still different, it's still, I like to have the people around.
Yeah, well, and it's just, as I know, you can sit in your studio all day and never see or hear from anybody. It's just nice to be around people, especially during these COVID times. It's definitely
and then there was
a challenge.
Also the songs, which was a separate recording session, usually months later, and that was also 1 or 2 days. So all in all, like probably 4 or 5 days.
Wow.
To wrap that up.
That's crazy. That's not a lot of time at all. Are you working on any new cartoons like what's the one I watch? F is for Family. I watch that one all the time. Any of the new adult stuff, that's kind of taken over.
I wish, honestly, not right now. I kind of took a break, to be honest, from the industry on some level because these last 5 years I've been. There's been a lot of stuff to deal with in regular life that I haven't been able to really put my focus on getting out there. But I'm working on a demo. That's kind of been one of those things. I'm reworking my demo. Okay. And I do have a lot of friends who are working on projects and currently on different things. I know Butch Hartman, who's the animator, creator of Fairly Odd Parents. And I know he has a lot of stuff coming up. So I'm counting on him. I'm like, keep me in mind. But nothing on the docket currently. Yeah. But that could change at any moment.
So how much have you been a Hollywood kid your whole life?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm sorry. What was the question?
Oh, your video's kind of frozen. I'm like, wow, she's really thinking about it. You grew up in Hollywood. Have you been a Hollyweird the whole time?
Have I been? Yeah, I mean, I was born just outside of I was born in Hollywood, technically at a hospital in Hollywood, but I was raised just outside of LA. Okay. So I guess I've been a Hollywood kid the whole time. But right now I'm living down near San Diego. So that's the other thing, the proximity, even though you can audition from home and all that stuff, it's a different mindset than being in the thick of LA. Yeah,
no, I totally hear you. In Minnesota, we don't have a lot of that in-person kind of stuff just because they're so far removed. But I noticed that, and I got to think that's, that growing up in that world, it's just night and day from the middle of the country or even on the East Coast. The East Coast is different than ever. It's interesting to hear that there are people that have actually done that and grown up their whole life in that environment. How do you like the San Diego area?
Oh, I love it. It's very refreshing. It's kind of like a lot less stressy, and there's not people live there because they want to live there, not because they're like every other person is trying to make a career for themselves, Yeah. So I really like the vibe, and it's not, it's not too far from LA if I ever need to get back for anything.
Not at all. My daughter actually goes to San Diego State University. Oh, cool. So I've been heading out to San Diego quite a bit. I'm actually going out there at the end of the month. Because there's a lot of things I don't like about your fair state, but you can't beat that weather. Damn. It's been cloudy here for the last week and a half, and I'll go anywhere for sun. And you guys have it all the time.
This is Ducky, and really do. I know I hate us project, and you should too. Yep, I'm so spoiled. So I grew up through and through California girl. If it's like lower than 70 degrees, I'm like,
yeah,
I can't do this.
Well, today we're like high 40s, so it's brutal.
Oh,
it's brutal. Well, listen, we got to wrap this thing up.
Hey, this is Aria, or you might know me as Ducky.
You've been great. I love hearing the stories about all the different projects you've been involved with, and it sounds like you're going to be making a stride to get back in the game.
Absolutely. DK project. Okay.
I love the idea of the master violinist too. That's so cool.
Oh yeah, he's awesome. I should say, hey, this is Aria, and I'm going to be on the DK Project podcast. So you should watch that coming up soon.
Exciting.
You will also
get the two of you together.
Ducky. Yep.
But
and I love Derek's DK Project podcast.
Stay in touch and see where you head, because I got to think you're going to be popping up on some of these new cartoons that are being made, because it seems like everything's going that way. And I love the voices and the talent. It's such a skill that I can appreciate, because I can't do it. I'm working on it, but I can't do it. Where can people find you? Do you do a lot on social media or anything?
I am on social media. I have my Instagram, my official acting one, which is it's long, Aria Noelle Curzon official. And then I have my podcast Instagram, which is Tuned In with Aria.
Oh, you get the podcast. I didn't even bring it up because it's not out yet. But Aria is putting together a podcast called Tuned In, TOONED.
Yes.
I like it. And that should be released, what? Are we talking 30 days, 60 days?
Oh, definitely within 30 days. I'm so close to the first one, which is with Rob Paulson, who you may know.
Yeah.
He was Pinky and Pinky and the Brain, Yakko, Donatello, everything. So many things. So, probably I'd say 2 weeks. I'm going to give myself that deadline, 2 weeks.
Man. No, we're going to say a week and a half. Tighten it up.
Okay.
Got to push yourself. Okay. Put it on the vision board. I love it. So once that does come out, you'll have to send us a link and we'll get it out to all of our listeners so they can hear what you're up to. Are you talking primarily voiceover stuff, or is it characters, or what are you doing? What's the base on the podcast?
Well, it sort of started as a reason just to reconnect with people. Mm-hmm. I like asking questions. I like learning about people's experiences. So that first one was very casual. We just kind of talked about, the past and different things and a little bit of his experience, but I'm trying to narrow the focus a little bit towards, some kind of structure. I'm working it out, but mainly it's reconnecting with friends and discussing our own various individual experiences growing up in the Hollywood industry.
Oh man, that's cool. That's cool. People have to check it out. It's called Tuned In. And we're going to say a week and a half it'll be released. So you're going out everywhere, Apple, Google, everywhere, of course.
Yes, I will. But right now I have a YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/tunedinwitharia. So you can subscribe there, and I'll be posting the videos there. But I will be doing the rest of it. I got to figure that out, actually. Any advice you have to give me will be great.
I was going to say, I know a guy who knows a lot about that. It's not a problem at all. So, people check her out on Instagram and all the social media platforms. Check out her YouTube channel and give her some likes and subscribe, because it sounds like it's going to be a fun project. And hopefully in a week and a half, the audio version will be out. Maybe depends on what I tell her in the next 30 minutes. So thank you again, Aria. You have a great day, and we'll check in with you later on.
Thank you, Darren. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. That's it. That's the end.
That's a wrap.
Read the shtick.
That's a wrap for today's episode. Don't forget to subscribe and tell all your friends. If you'd like to reach out, you can use the studio line at 612-504-6500 or by email, thedkprojectpodcast@gmail.com. And of course, there's always social media at the DK Project Podcast. Thanks for tuning in.